So this was nice. So hello and welcome to another video of basic concepts of macroeconomics. My name is Riyamanadar and today we will be learning small concepts of macroeconomics, mainly dealing with the consumption, mainly dealing with the goods part, commodities part. So let's start. Oh, that is quite good. So first, we in terms of economics, uh, in economical way, we can classify the goods into final and intermediate goods. Final goods are goods which are out of the boundary of production and ready for the ultimate usage. It's quite, I guess you all know what are final goods. The goods which we use directly for the satisfaction of our wants. Those goods are known as final goods, and final goods they're also, this is their property, that they are out of the boundary of the production. That means no more value addition is required. They can be used for direct satisfaction of wants and ready for the ultimate usage. Now, intermediate goods are not even boundary of production. That means in the goods where value is left to be added, those goods are known as intermediate goods. For example, raw materials, sugar or sugar cane, which will be transformed into sugar, or paper, which will be transformed into magazines, just like this, for example. Then comes consumer goods and capital goods. Consumer goods are used by consumers for direct satisfaction of wants. Suppose, if I purchase any food from the local store, then it's a consumer good because I'm using that for my direct satisfaction. And then comes capital goods, which are used for production of. Capital goods are those goods which will be used for further production. Capital goods are normally a very high price. Suppose machines, or what else you can say? Mm, Mostly machines, or if you have a computer, like this is my laptop and I am using this for my revenue generation. This is my capital good. So this is my capital good. And for example, um, I'm using paper to write something, and that I'm using, or I am eating any food, that is my consumer good. So where is I need the pen. Consumer goods and capital goods. Important one. Intermediate goods and final goods. Okay, this one here, out of the boundary line of production and out of the boundary line of production. This has a very good meaning, which I will later explain to you. Wow, look at this. Yeah, that was fun though. Then comes consumer. Okay, final goods. Uh, the basic users of final goods are consumers and producers. These are the two users of final goods. Now, final goods which are used by consumers for their own wants, are known as final consumer goods, and the goods which are used by producer for their wants are known as final producer goods. Okay, so now producer, as we know, they are producing something. So final producer goods will be those goods which will be used for further production of more goods, and consumer goods are those goods which will be used for the direct satisfaction of their own wants. So that was all. Suppose, for example, you can take consumer goods, as I told you. What is any food, for example, any of the biscuit or cookies you are buying from your local store. Producers, final producer goods like this laptop, as I told you, I'm using this for my own revenue generation. I'm using this to produce more good, not actually good, but I'm producing an output. I'm generating an output through this laptop. So this is my producer good. It can also be a machine, or it can also be anything else. And also remember that producer goods are normally a little high priced. See this, curtains, beautiful. here comes the consumption expenditure. Consumption expenditure made by an household on consumer products. Consumer products, as I told you, which are used for direct satisfaction of your wants. And expenditure means how much money, the total amount of money you are spending, and household spending on the final consumer products for your own direct satisfaction of wants. That means this will not include those products which are used, this which a household may use for other purposes, for example for resale. Those products will not be included in consumption expenditure. Okay. Now here we come to investment expenditure. Now expenditure uh, made by made on producer sorry made by produce on produ- sorry made on producer, it's true, made on producer goods by producers. It means if look, this is my, as I told you, my laptop, or you can take for example in a company, uh, or in a factory, there is a machine which is used to for example uh, join two parts, or we can say polish two parts. Those kind of machines, or expenditure or money spent on producer goods, that means goods which are used to produce other goods. Those goods which help to produce other goods are known as investment expenditure. Expenditure made on goods that producers buy to produce other goods, to more goods. It's known as investment expenditure. Okay, okay. Just like digging like this. It's actually fun. Then come then here we have expenditure on this is the total expenditure of final goods. And now as more you will progress, you will know more about this expenditure on final goods. This is a very valid point which is used, or is valid factor which is used for the calculation of GDP or net domestic product or gross domestic product, all of them. Now here comes what is expenditure, total expenditure of final goods. This will be consumption expenditure plus investment expenditure. Adding of by these two, we get the total expenditure on final goods. Okay, this is easy. Oh, look at this. Wow. Boundary line of production. As I told you in the previous slide, or previous to previous slide, that it's a very important as very interesting. Suppose you have a you have papers which you turn into uh, solid book. If you have papers, you have pile of papers which you turn into books. Okay, books, your written books. So those papers are not yet out of the boundary line of production. That means they are left, value addition is still in progress. There is more value is left to be added within that product, within that uh, intermediary good. So boundary line of production, you can say this is the boundary line of production. This is the good, and once this is out of the boundary line of production, this will the good will be ready for final usage or ultimate usage by the consumers for their direct satisfaction of wants. But till the good is inside this boundary line of production, that means more and more value will be added to the good. Suppose for example, can also take like if a shopkeeper buys, if a retailer buys any good from the producer or the wholesaler, and then increases the price a little bit, and then sells it to you, the final final price which you will pay, uh, which you will pay when you when you will pay for the good will be out of the line of production. But till the day till the day its value is keep on adding, value is adding more and more, it will be within the boundary line of production. So, so this was actually, oh, here I made a mistake. Intermediate goods, as we told, as I told you, goods which are not yet out of the boundary line of production. That means more value is left to be added. Value is still left to be added. It's actually written in a good position. I'm sorry for that. I apologize for my mistake. Value is still left to be added, and they have not yet crossed the line of production. And here it is also true that value of intermediary goods will eventually become a part of the final goods. Suppose you uh, you made a biscuit. You bought a biscuit. Now, if you trace back how the biscuit was produced, first of all, the flour was purchased from the farmers, and then the flour was processed. Then sugar was purchased. Sugar was processed. Then both of them were mixed, and finally the biscuit was produced. And the biscuit you bought, the cookie you bought, uh, which will include all of the prices, will include the prices of all of the intermediary goods like the sugar, the flour for additional ingredients used, will include all of these, or all of the intermediary goods, or value of all of the intermediary goods will be included in the final good. Final good means the good which you bought. It will include the value of all the intermediary goods. I'm actually not good in writing this in computer, but can say the summation of all intermediary. Okay, leave it. I'm sorry. I cannot. I'm not really used to with this kind of writing on laptop. So how to decide? How to decide? I'm sorry. How to decide whether a good is a final good or an intermediary good? First of all, first of all, and end of all, you can say that. We have to check the end use. Suppose uh, you bought, as I told you, you bought a cookie from your shopkeeper in a local store, and then you consumed it. Then you have to look at the end use. End use is direct satisfaction of your want. So it's a final good. Now, now you have to remember this: the same good may be final or intermediary good. Suppose you bought a suppose you bought a pile of papers for writing, for your own writing. That is a final good to you, because you are using it for your own satisfaction, for your own want. But suppose for any other person who works in a paper factory, or in a bookshop, or he's using that pile of papers to write a book, and he will sell the book. That means he's adding more value to that pile of papers. He's using it as an intermediary good. So it will change from usage to usage. It will depend on person to person, and depend how the person uses it. So that was all. Now, then comes the consumption goods. Consumption goods means consumer goods, the goods we consume for our direct satisfaction of human wants. Durable. Uh, these are the four types basically. Durable consumption goods, which can be used for several years and are of high value. For example, cars, washing machines, or any other. Um, what else can I say? Okay, any other of like thing you can think for yourself, a bike or any other thing which will be of high value and can be used for several years. Okay, for high value and for several years. These two things basically are the deciding factor. Semi-durable goods can be used for one more than 1 year, like the utensils you use at your home, or suppose you have a cycle that will last maybe for 1.5 years. those are semi-durable goods. Mostly the utensils are good examples, and they are not so high value in comparison to durable goods. Then comes the non-durable goods, single act of consumption, like as I told, this cannot be used again and again. These kind of goods cannot be used again and again. One time satisfaction. Uh, so these good, for example, the food you buy from this local store, which you just consume at once. You cannot consume it again and again. You have to consume at once and then over. The satisfaction is, that's all. One time satisfaction gone. Then comes the non-material goods. Non-material goods means services which satisfy human wants. The services you get from maybe service, just like IT services you get, or when you have any technical problem, you call and there comes an Indian technical man who answers you from the other side. Then we have other service from the doctor, service from any other maybe financial consultant. Okay. Then comes the capital goods. Capital goods are goods which are used for production of further more goods. Fixed assets of producers. These are basically the fixed assets of producers. Now, the capital goods can be either used for replacement of stock or adding new stock. Now, replacement of stock. Suppose there is a machine which is already worn out and it's no longer usable. So the producer buys a capital good which replaces, which is used to replace the stock, which is used to replace the worn out machine. So this can be one use, and another one can be for adding new stock. So adding new stock, for example, you already have so many machines, you already have so many phone, you already have one phone, and you're buying another phone. So it's a fixed. So no, sorry, I just gave a wrong example. It's not a producer. You have already have so many machines to produce good. You added one another machine. Okay, that's a replacement of stock. Or I just forgot to write the second point. You can just note it down for adding new stock. These are fixed assets of producers. Okay. Now, another thing, capital goods should be of high price and should be for long usage. As I told you, the two important factors, the two deciding factors, high price and long usage. For example, cars. Here comes capital goods and producer goods. Capital goods and producer goods. Basically, both are not absolutely same. I mean, all capital goods are producer goods, but all producer goods are not capital. Producer goods basically are those goods which are used for the production of any new good, which will be used to produce any new good. And capital goods, as you know, that helps to uh, for used for making of another new good. But all capital, yes, all capital goods are producer goods because all capital goods are used to produce any good which will be used for the production of any other good, and producer goods also means the same, but all producer goods are not capital goods because producer goods also includes raw materials. raw materials but raw materials, as we know, they are not capital goods because capital goods are of high price and for long usage, but raw materials are not such. Raw materials are basically intermediary goods, but raw materials are included in the producer goods, but they are not a part of capital goods. That's why I'm saying producer goods includes raw materials which are not a part of capital goods. That's why all capital goods, that's why I'm saying all capital goods are producer goods, but not all producer goods. That by not all, I mean in raw materials. I mean raw materials because raw materials are not a part of capital goods. That's why all capital goods are producer, but all producer goods are not capital goods. Okay. Here comes another one. Okay, consumption expenditure. This might be the last slide. In macroeconomics, consumption expenditure refers to aggregate consumption expenditure in an economy. Aggregate consumption expenditure in an economy, as we learned, that it's the total consumption or total expenditure made by any household on consumer goods, final consumer goods, for their own satisfaction of wants. And totaling all these consumption expenditure of so many households in a country, we get the aggregate consumption or consumption expenditure total. Will include not only household but also government consumption expenditure or non-profit private industries, for example, churches, mosques, or NGOs, temples. These these are basically the part of non-profit private industries. And household, as we know, we have our household, our family, and what we buy. Okay, that's all. Government also is a very huge consumer of consumption expenditure. Um, Government procures foods from uh, farmers, or buys any kind of stuff from other countries to sell that to maybe for someone else's benefit. The government is also huge consumer of a huge the government also has a huge part of consumption expenditure, huge part in consumption expenditure. So here was all. Consumption expenditure will include household. Yes, we consume, we buy, we buy uh, we buy consumer goods. Government also buys consumer goods like rice from the farmers and then gives that us gives to us gives to us in low price. Then non-profit private industries. Okay, why non-profit private industries and not private industries? If you know the answer, you can write in the comment section, but I will tell you why. Because private industries, when they consume anything with they will do that either for their own profit. That means they will include value, they will add value to their own things. That's why I'm not saying that the private industries, when they will consume, they will do that for their own fit. Non basically not non-profit private industries only do these kind of things like social works, mainly include social work. They will buy from the and feed the poor or this kind of stuff, which is also done by the government. And a household, as we know, we buy food and other stuff from the store. That's also for our consumption. So this was all. You have to remember this one. Okay. Uh, I will show you the slides again. This one. Okay. 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 Not bad. Okay. Final goods and specified final goods. So that was all. Thank you very much.